Alright, the topic for video 8 is cofunctions. Alright, and the only pair of cofunctions that we know of or that we're going to talk about is sine and cosine. And they have a specific type of relationship, and that's what we're going to go over in this video. Alright, so for this triangle, what do you think the sine of t and the cosine of c are going to be? Are they going to be the same? Are they going to be different? What do you know and why? Alright, so if we look at the sine of t, this is the opposite, this is the hypotenuse, this is the adjacent. So the sine of t is 7 over 25. And then we want to do cosine of c, which is this one, opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So the cosine of c, 7 over 25. Now, how come these come out to be the same, even though we're doing different functions? How come the sine and the cosine are the same? That is what the cofunction rule is really all about. So, why are they the same? Well, what do you know about angle C and angle T based off of this triangle? Well, what I know is that angle C plus angle A plus angle T is 180. Now I know that angle A is 90 degrees. So if I subtract that from both sides, I know that angle C plus angle T is 90. This is the cofunction rule. Okay, and I'm going to get into it down below, but this is the reason why these two answers are the same. Okay, because that's the special relationship that sine and cosine have. Okay, what this is saying is that the sine is equal to the cosine when the angles are complementary. Okay, meaning they add up to 90 degrees. So angles A and angle B are complementary. That makes sine equal to cosine. And this last one is just another way to write the same exact thing. So for example, the sine of 30 is equal to the cosine of what number? Well, if we just said these have to add up to 90 degrees. So 30 plus what number equals 90? It's going to be 60. So that's what's going to go here. You can check these things in your calculator. Sine of 30 is 0.5, and cosine of 60 is also 0.5. So this will work with any pair of numbers as long as they add up to 90 degrees. All right, another example is, let's say we know the cosine of 80 is equal to the sine of what number? We said, when are sine and cosine equal? They're equal when these two things in the parentheses add up to 90 degrees. So this would have to be 10, because 80 plus 10 is 90 degrees. So we can go in here and we can check sine of 10 is 0.1736, and the cosine of 80, the same exact decimal. So that is the cofunction rule. Sine and cosine are equal when their angles add up to 90 degrees. All right, so now we're going to do two problems. They come up the most. All right, so if sine of the angle 3x plus 10 equals the cosine of the angle x plus 24, find x. Well, we just said, when are sine and cosine equal? Sine and cosine are equal when the two angles, meaning the two things in the parentheses, add up to 90 degrees. So all I have to do is take the two angles, what's in the parentheses, and add them up to 90 degrees. And I can solve and figure out what x is. We have 4x plus 34 equals 90. We have 4x equals 56. I just subtracted 34 from both sides. Divide by 4. I get x equals 14. Okay, now to prove my point and what's going to happen here, I'm going to plug this x back in, even though it's really not what the question asks for. So it's going to be the sine of 3 times 14 plus 10, and the cosine of 14 plus 24. And watch what happens. I get the sine. I'm going to use my calculator for this so I don't make a mistake. 3 times 14 plus 10 is 52. So I get the sine of 52 equals the cosine 14 plus 24, 38. Now, what should you notice? We should notice that 52 plus 38 is 90 degrees. That's the cofunction rule, so therefore sine and cosine have to be equal. I can go one step further and check this in my calculator and do the sine of 52 and the cosine of 38. All right, so that is the first way that you would be asked this, case number 1. Okay, second case. In right triangle ABC with right angle at C, they love to ask this question. They love to talk about right triangle ABC with right triangle at C. It says the sine of angle A equals 4x minus 5, and the cosine of B equals 3 times x plus 7. Okay, well, what do we know about angles A and B? Well, since this is 90 degrees, we know that A plus B equals 90. Well, that tells us that sine and cosine are equal to each other. So since these are not the angles over here, we can set them equal to each other. So we have 4x minus 5 equals 3 times x plus 7. And we have 4x minus 5 equals 3x plus 21. Add 5 to both sides. Subtract 3x from both sides. You get x equals 26. Now, I know some of you are going to be a little bit confused here with when to do which one, kind of what this topic is. I'm going to give you a breakdown here, a little T-chart or tree map here of both different cases. But all you have to memorize is the rule. And the rule is if sine and cosine are equal, their angles add to 90. If you know their angles add to 90, then whatever they're equal to is equal to each other. So, quick notes here. For cofunctions only, okay? If you have sine of something, of sine of x, let's say equals cosine of y, and you're trying to solve for what's in here, you're going to do x plus y equals 90. That's how you're going to solve. Okay? Now, case number 2 is if you have something like sine of a equals x and cosine of b equals y, then what you're going to do is take these two, set equal, and solve. Okay, those are really the only two ways you can be asked this question. There is a third one. It's going to be the multiple choice question on your Google form today. All right, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a couple questions on a Google form that you have to complete. Remember, if you have any questions, please email me. Fill out the rest of this part with your key vocabulary words, your summary, and questions. And remember, there are always practice questions in this packet for you to try if you need some more help. So again, just to add, sine and cosine are equal. 80 plus theta equals 90. That's how I would solve. Sine and cosine are equal. Add them up, set them equal to 90. Sine and cosine are equal. Add them up, set them equal to 90. The only one that's different is this one, because sine of A is equal to something and cosine of B is equal to something else. Alright, do the best that you can with the forms, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you have any problems, please let me know.